Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is ICELAND and this is Discover on Two Wheels, and in this week's episode I will be explaining the benefits of strength training and why we do strength training, why you should do strength training. I will be also talking about training. Managed to complete 2 sessions totaling 218 kilometer distance, and also topped it up with a 10k run on the weekend. I also had a bit of a rant again because the amount of drivers on the road messing with the phones while they are driving is just nuts. It's crazy, but a little bit more about that later in this video. And also, because we are already talking about drivers, this is not a rant. I have more like a question. It's mainly female drivers. I've noticed that this is happening. What is the purpose of pulling the chair all the way to the front until your body is squeezed between the seat and the steering wheel? All I can see is a series of bad decisions made because you're suffocating yourself. Not enough blood going into your brain, not enough oxygen, and then you just make silly decisions. And then you go home and complain to your partner that your nipples are all messed up and red and sore and stuff like this. No wonder if you're rubbing your tits against the steering wheel like for hours. Anyways, so yeah, how does it help with the driving? I'm curious. Anybody knows? Let me know. So today we're training again, and this time we're gonna cycle down to Windsor, turn around and then bring it back home. This is gonna be 120 kilometers. At the moment it's quite foggy, like it was on the weekend. Sunday was really foggy, but towards the afternoon we should warm up and then we might even get a bit of a suntan. But we'll see. Today's ride is meant to be really nice because we're gonna cycle through a lot of green places and stuff like that. I'll let you know more about the trip a little bit later. Cool, so we got here to Windsor, and yeah, the weather didn't turn out the way we wanted to. It's just like 4 or 5 degrees and pretty gray, but it wasn't too bad. We managed to do really good speed, and then we went through a couple of really nice green spaces. Like on the flats we can push really well, and then I was like enjoying myself. I was like, ooh, this is going quick and stuff, and then this guy just takes me over, and I was like, damn man, I was going really hard, and then yeah, it just takes me over with absolutely no effort. Anyways, now we have another 55 kilometers to go home, and that's it. It was a pretty easy ride, nothing crazy. It's just a shame that it's so grey, but it is what it is. What can you do? All right, see you later. This ride actually turned out to be pretty cool. The sun came about like 2 hours ago. It was really nice, but there's so many people on the road driving while holding the phone, doing whatever they do on it, like messaging or watching porn or playing Candy Crush. I don't know what the hell they are doing, but we had like 3 cases today where we got cut off by a driver who was playing on the phone, or somebody was just turning without paying attention because they had the phone in their hand, and it's just mad. Like, how the fuck people cannot understand that you shouldn't have that shit in your hand, especially when you're driving. I'm apprehensive, so even if you park in stuff like this and the engine is on, you shouldn't have the phone in your hand. Yep, but especially not when you're in traffic. It doesn't matter how slowly it goes or how fast the traffic moves, it just shouldn't be in your hands. Anyways, that makes the ride a little bit interesting. So instead of a training session, it becomes more like a obstacle race, extreme sport kind of thing. But yeah, anyways, just don't have the phone in your hands. Well, we did the 120k, which means that I only have to do 80 kilometers on Thursday, 80 plus maybe. We'll see how the route is gonna come along. But yeah, I'm thinking to go again towards southwest. Really enjoying riding around there because it's nice and green. Like, Windsor was amazing. Ideally we would stay and stuff like this, but now we just go around and come back, and then that's it. Though on the way there we really pushed the training, so I think our average speed was up to like 25 kilometers an hour, and that's including that we had to stop and go in London because of the red lights and everything, and then the traffic was a little bit slow as well in the morning. But as soon as we got out to the countryside, I was looking down on my phone and I was doing anywhere between 35 to 40 kilometers an hour, so that was pretty good. So today we are cycling for 100 kilometers. We're gonna go Epsom and back, and it's gonna be another nice day in Mordor because ain't gonna be sunny at all. At least it's not too cold, so should be alright. And yeah, again, the elevation is not very crazy, so it's not gonna be like a very hard effort. It's more again about putting in the kilometers, but with that, this week is gonna come up to 220, plus I still have the running on the weekend, so I think we're gonna be closing a good week. Cycling around with the GoPro is really cool because we record quite a bit of like silly drivers and pedestrians and stuff like this, so soon enough it's gonna be a good compilation of so-called idiots on the road. But yeah, anyways, time to go. Today I'm going to be talking about the benefits of strength training. The last couple of weeks I was talking about how to program for strength training, what kind of exercises to use, what kind of progression to include in your training program. But today I'm going to expand a little bit more on what are the actual benefits of strength training and why we do it. I have broken down the benefits into a couple of categories and then further subcategories, and I'm just going to discuss every single one of them a little bit more in detail. I grouped the benefits into these categories because I wanted to give you a more detailed and organized view about the adaptations the body and the mind goes through when you do strength training, and not only stating the obvious ones which you can read in every single blog saying that strength training helps you to improve your strength and your body composition, helps you to burn more calories. There's a little bit more to strength training than that. So the first two main categories is physiological and psychological adaptation, and I'm going to expand on both of these a little bit more. I've broken down the physiological category into subcategories, and those are neural adaptation, muscular adaptation, skeletal adaptations, and movement quality. First, let's have a look at the neural adaptation, which means that the adaptations your nervous system go through thanks to strength training. The first one we're going to have a look at it is motor unit recruitment. So to understand this a little bit better, I'm just going to explain in a nutshell what is a motor unit. And the motor unit is made out of two main components, and that is the neuron and the muscle fibers which are connected to that neuron. So this is how a motor unit is made up. The motor units work on an all or nothing principle, meaning that as soon as the neuron receives the message from the brain to contract the muscle fibers, either all of the muscle fibers connected to that neuron will fire up or none of them. With increased motor unit recruitment, the body is capable of utilizing more motor units when the contraction is about to happen, and therefore it's able to produce more force. So the more motor units are firing at the same time, the more force you are capable of producing. Different exercises will require different number of motor units. So the smaller a movement, let's say a bicep curl, the less motor unit is required to complete that movement. The bigger the movement, the more powerful. For example, a snatch or a clean and jerk, that's going to require a lot larger number of motor units to be recruited to complete the movement. Increased motor unit synchronization means that all of these recruited motor units are firing simultaneously. So if the firing happens in a chain reaction, the produced force is going to be less than if the firing happens parallel. So if you think about a Christmas light or a LED light, and then the bulbs are coming up one by one, they're not going to be as bright, they're not going to create as much light in the room. But if all of the bulbs are firing up at the same time, they're going to create a lot more light, your room is going to be a lot brighter, and that's the exact same thing happens with the muscles. If the motor units are firing in a sequence, the force is going to be less than if they fire all at the same time, and then the better the synchronization, the more force will be produced. With strength training, we can also improve the firing rate of these motor units, meaning that with a higher firing rate, we can create stronger contraction, and if the contraction is stronger, then we can produce more force. Another interesting neural adaptation of strength training is improved proprioception. So proprioception is the ability of imagining and feeling where is your body in space. So for example, if you do reverse lunges, you obviously can't see what is your back leg doing, but you can imagine where is that leg going and what is it doing, and that ability is called proprioception. With strength training, we can improve this skill, thus making heavier and more complex lift a lot safer, and it will also contribute to improved body mechanics. The next category I'm going to be talking about is the muscular adaptation, and I'm going to mention three things here. Number one being the increased cross-sectional area of the muscles. When we talk about the cross-sectional area of the muscle, we can differentiate between two categories. The first one is the anatomical and the second one is the physiological. When discussing force production, we tend to rely more on the physiological cross-sectional area of the muscle. Another change the muscular system goes through as a result of strength training is the change in muscular architecture, meaning that the angle of the pennation changes. Based on the angle of the muscle fibers, we can differentiate between two subcategories. The muscle fibers are either organized in a parallel fashion, meaning that they are parallel to the tendon of that muscle group, think about the hamstring muscle, or they are organized in a pennate arrangement, which means that the muscle fibers close an angle with the tendon. Think about the quadriceps. So when I say that close an angle, meaning that if your tendon would be running vertically down like this, the fibers would close an angle. Think about maybe looking at a leaf of a tree, as you see the main vein and the side veins running from that out. It resembles the same pattern. With strength training, we can increase the angle of pennation, meaning that we get closer to a 90-degree angle between the tendon and the muscle fibers. Therefore, we will be able to produce more force. The third muscular adaptation I'm going to mention is the one probably everybody heard about it, and it's hypertrophy. Hypertrophy means the increased size of muscle cells, and you must be familiar with this term if you are into bodybuilding, because in bodybuilding the number one goal is to increase muscle size. In strength training, hypertrophy comes as a positive byproduct. The next group of adaptation is about the skeleton, and I'm gonna highlight two things here. One is the bone health. As a result of strength training, the bone density will increase in every individual, meaning that you will build stronger bones, and therefore you're gonna have a much more solid frame to work with. The other adaptation is the increased strength of the connective tissue. When we talk about connective tissues, I mean ligaments and tendons here. So going through a strength training program or contributing to strength training in the longer term will help you to increase strength in your ligaments, meaning that you're going to be less prone to injuries. So if a sudden movement happens and you're twisting your knee, you're less likely to tear your ligaments on your tendons than without having strength training in your routine. Strength training is also used as a rehabilitation method after somebody sustained an injury. So for example, if you torn a muscle or a tendon, you're going to have to go through strength training to build back the load bearing and the force producing capabilities of your musculoskeletal system. Next, I'm going to talk about movement quality improvement as the result of strength training. So with strength training, we can improve our body mechanics, meaning that our posture will improve because we are strengthening the muscles which are holding our body in a correct position, and we also improve our motion. So we're going to move better and we're going to be more functional. As a result of strength training, the range of motion in the joints will improve as well. That's partially because of the strengthened ligaments and tendons will be able to bear more weight in compromised angles, and also because of the muscle flexibility improves. When you participate in strength training, you often work with very heavy loads and then you perform complex movement, for example, like a jerk. Performing exercises which requires a good range of motion under heavy load will help you to push the body a little bit further than just bodyweight stretching or bodyweight mobility exercises. Therefore, you can further increase the range of motion in your joints. However, you need to be cautious how much weight and how big of a range you use when you perform these complex exercises. Another extremely important adaptation the body and the mind goes through when participating in strength training is coordination and balance. Coordination is the ability to use and move different body parts in a controlled and synchronized fashion. Coordination is important not only in your sport performance but in your everyday life, just as balancing. When performing strength exercises, we oftentimes are required to work in an imbalanced position, and that's gonna help you to train your nervous system and your muscular system to build the ability to remain steady in these positions and still be able to perform the movement correctly and with control. Another couple of benefits of strength trainings are improved body composition, which is the result of the increased energy requirement when we participate in heavy lifting, helps you to burn more calories, therefore you can shed some of that extra body fat. Also, the increased muscle size can help you to create an improved aesthetic image. Some studies have also shown that strength training can contribute to the management of chronic diseases like arthritis or type 2 diabetes, and it can also help with blood pressure issues, especially with hypertension, meaning high blood pressure. The second big category of benefits I was talking in the beginning is the psychological adaptation. When we talk about the psychological benefit of strength training, we can talk about cognitive and mental health related benefits. The mental health benefits of strength or resistance training can be decreased anxiety levels and decreased depression, improved confidence, and that includes body confidence and self-confidence as well. And also we can control mood swings as well, because when we train, the body releases endorphin, and endorphins are the hormone that creates good mood. Due to the cognitive adaptations of strength training, people can see improvement in their memory, learning skills, attention, and decision making as well. Just as a final note, I wanted to highlight that all of these categories could be discussed a lot more in detail, especially when we talk about nervous system adaptations or the muscular system adaptations. But to keep the video at a reasonable length, we didn't go too deep. However, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Now, if you'd like to know more about physical training, including strength and conditioning or endurance training, or whatever is your chosen principle, please feel free to get in touch. I have included my website in the description below, so just hit me up and I'll get back to you ASAP. Alright, so this is all I had for you this week, but stay tuned. I will be back with a new episode next week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to like, share and comment. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you will get notified as soon as I upload a new video. In the meantime, stay safe and I see you next time. Ciao!